Going solo is like starting your career from scratch. All the money would go to my label.
Really?
Yes, that contract is criminal. I would rather go down fighting and sharing with the public everything that I'm going through.
Knowledge.
So that they can not go through the same thing. The way that people treated me was that I was of zero value.
Yeah.
The purpose of this job in my current mindset is that humanity moves forward and develops and evolves through storytelling.
This episode is filmed in one of my favorite hotels in America. It's called the Line Hotel in LA. And I just want to say thanks to everybody there that have allowed us to record in this amazing space. These rooms are unbelievable, as you can see by this insane view of the Hollywood Hills. And this episode is also sponsored by them, which means that you can get 20% off your booking if you use the code word Will Clarke. Hit the link in the bio and just use the code word Will Clarke at checkout to come and stay at the Line Hotel in LA. It's a beautiful hotel. Come and do it.
How long has this podcast been going?
6 years.
Oh, wow. You were way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You were just called to it.
Well,
and then COVID happened. You were like, oh, right, yeah, now everyone's doing it.
Well, no, I started it technically in COVID. Well, it's going to be 6 years in April.
It hasn't been 6.
It's going to be 6 years in April.
Oh, that's really, really weird.
I know, right? It's literally
No, but that period of time is a time warp because we lost
2 years.
So much time.
Were you here then?
Yeah.
It's weird because I've been having more conversations about COVID recently because we're coming back up. It's like we're coming back around to it. Like I saw on Instagram.
Oh, you mean it's going to come up again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be as extreme though. A lot of our bodies and like.
No, I meant the like news cycle again.
Oh.
Of like.
It was like stick though, is it? Everyone's so bored of it.
Know.
Like, unless someone's dropping right next to you, you're going to be like, don't talk to me about that. That was enough. Thank you.
How did it change your life though?
It changed my life a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, I was ahead of the game. I already had my baby right in the middle of the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
No, I'd already had my baby. So I didn't have the hospital situation.
Yeah.
Which it's actually not that bad not having lots of people in the operating room, in the delivery room.
Yeah.
That's quite all right to have only one person, I will say. But anyway, I lived in one of these like LA apartment complexes where they had like space on the ground floor that's part of the complex but is not sort of in the general public. And so you'd see me like bouncing down there with my pushchair. And the brilliant thing for me, and I know that COVID was hard for a lot of people, but I have to be honest, knowing that everyone else was in the same boat as me,
level
the playing field. I really don't have any idea how I would have done it otherwise. I mean, I would have just disappeared and that would have really... Honestly, actually, I don't think I avoided hurting my career anymore. I think everyone's career got hurt.
Yeah.
So, but that is also levels the playing field in a sense.
I think there's also two different people, right? I think there was the established artists before COVID, that it hurt their career. And then there's the new artists that came through that it helped their career.
Well, I was both because I went solo.
Yeah. And
what I didn't realize at the time is that going solo is like starting your career from 100%. Scratch. Mostly because all of the stats that everyone works on stats. And so you start with 0 stats. It doesn't matter, literally doesn't matter about anything you've done before, especially if your name doesn't correlate. So like I made a vague assumption that people would understand that Aluna is one half of Aluna George because there just aren't any more people with that name.
Yeah.
But other people don't know that. They're like, there could be. Maybe you're the new one. I'm like, no. No.
But when I first heard Aluna, I can't remember when it was, if I'm totally honest. But I was like, is that Aluna George? Is that Aluna from Aluna George? Is it not?
Also, if you're in a band, there's an anonymity about who's in the band or what does the name mean? Who is that? And so yeah, it didn't cross over. So I definitely, like, the way that COVID changed me was everything I do as a performer. I had already decided to go solo though.
Yeah.
And I had decided to, like, focus on dance music. And after COVID, like, the clubs were the first places to open. So that, like, during the pandemic, I kind of worked out what the point of being a DJ would be for me. Not necessarily the skill set I'd already been DJing, but I didn't really understand the point of being, like, a left of center pop artist who DJs.
Yeah.
It was just something that people would always ask for you to do. Like, course, it's just an extra skill that you already know how to do.
But it's weird because with your Aluna George stuff, there was still such almost like a blurred line between what you were putting out, because what you were putting out fit so well in clubs in certain situations.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to be asked to DJ.
Yeah, but everyone was getting asked to DJ from every type of music.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Really I didn't see that though. I guess from an outsider's
they would be like,
point of view.
they'd be like, "Sarah, you can just plug a playlist in and stand there." I was like, "No." Yeah. You don't know how awkward I am. Like, I'm going to be imagining that everyone knows what's going on, and, like, I couldn't handle it. So I was like, "Don't worry, I'll just go and learn how to DJ." But yeah, during the pandemic, I was like, "Okay, it's all about what type of artists you're putting on in your sets that really would have you give it a purpose beyond just another skill." So for me, like, it was like, okay, I was making this dance record myself and feeling very isolated, being a black woman in dance music as the main artist. And so it was like a quite selfish motivation to, like, find anyone in remotely a similar kind of vein. Because I was like...
Especially then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like...
Thinking about
didn't have quite a lot of the artists that we have now back then.
No.
Which is only 6 years ago. So it was, like, hardcore crate digging.
Yeah, I can imagine. Fun,
but it really helped me because previous to that, I had, like, all music... Which ones would you like to play?
Yeah,
I was like, oh God, I don't know. So competitive. And then by putting this criteria, like, I was like, it's such a loose criteria. What
was the criteria?
Someone has to be black. And I have to like the track.
Yeah.
So that
what does that come, like, why that criteria?
Because that's basically what my career is.
Yeah.
I'm not always the main artist. I'm almost... I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but when you do features, you know, there's very often a larger...
multiple people.
Or a large... Always, like, the focus artist, like, who you associate that track with. But people have always tried to tell me that I bring value to that track that's equal to that other person.
Yeah.
So I kind of flipped that on how I saw other... tracks where it might not even be someone who's, like, an artist in their own right, but I'm like, you brought the soul to that track.
I'm a firm believer of that. It's something that I've always tried to do when it comes to especially splits, is like, if we all worked on the record, like, I'm not getting into the weeds of, like, oh, you wrote this and I wrote that, and it would, like, it's 50-50. We're all in it together. If your name's on this record and my name's on this record, whether you have 1,000 followers or 10 million followers, we've done it equally. Mm-hmm. It's us. It's a team. We're putting this music out because we love the record. We're not putting this music out for any other reason. Okay, people. We all know making music is the fun part. However, when it comes to marketing, gets a little bit more complicated, and especially when it comes to running ads, which is why I've been using the one and only Intelligent. Intelligent is a platform that allows you to run your meta ads within 6 clicks. Literally 6 clicks, upload all your content, and your ads are running. Also, it allows you to optimize the ads on a daily basis with literally a click of the button. All you have to do is click the link in the description and get involved with Intelligent and watch your Spotify streams grow and your Beatport chart positions climb. Get involved. The link is in the description.
Did you notice that felt unusual?
Yeah. Well, it was the rooms. It was when because I always started by myself, like just sampling. I was like quintessential DJ producer. And then I started going into rooms and started writing songs and things like that. And the like rhetoric in the song in the rooms were like, oh, I got really shit splits on this record. I got really shit splits on this record. I'm like, oh wow, that record's done like 200 million streams. Like you've done all right. And they're like, no, my split was this much. And I'm like, it was just a level of like, this doesn't make sense. Like if we want to build a business that is that remains pushing culture and remains pushing great art, we have to look after everybody in it, because otherwise you're just going to lose the great artists. Because there comes a point, we all get older, right? It's fine when you're younger to live with no money, but there comes a point that you have to earn money in this world. And by not being able to earn money because your splits are shit, or because somebody's screwed you over in that situation, it doesn't create good art.
I agree, and I feel like I've noticed less and less so singers and songwriters being willing to give that.
Yeah.
In recent years, like on the other side I'm on many sides of the music industry.
You've walked so many different paths in it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I hear people talking from all different parts of it. And so I'll hear like all the producers like, I can't get a vocal. Like, well, maybe seeing it as a vocal is where you're going wrong.
Yeah.
Like, do you mean that you haven't connected with somebody who has a story to tell?
Yeah. That
also has a voice that's willing to work with you? I don't.
Well, it's also it's such a relationship.
Yeah.
Like the thing is like I think I don't know about you, but since COVID, and I think the reason I don't like bringing up COVID all the time, but there was like before and after, right? And I think a lot changed from before.
Well, because we
after.
had George Floyd right on the, like as a big theme of that. Moment. It was like we weren't doing anything because of COVID, and then George Floyd happened. That in the middle of a space where our busy lives had ceased to really exist.
Yeah.
And so the impact of that was huge. And I think that the two things can't be separated because they were both global.
I think for me, I totally agree with you, especially on a cultural level. But I think also in the industry, in the DJ world, in the electronic scene, more people became electronic artists during that time, which then I personally feel like it then changed it became way more transactional afterwards. It was like you said, I need a vocal rather than, oh, I found this sick vocalist, like walking down the street, like, and now we're making great art. It felt like it was like, okay, I need a vocal to get me from A to B. And when I'm at B, it will get me to C to D. And I think that's where the transactions of vocalists, DJ producers, like just kind of blurred lines slightly. I don't know where I'm going with this, but going back to the split section is like, singer-songwriters have always been kind of pushed to the side to a certain extent, especially when it comes to earning money in the industry. How have you found it over the years to kind of remain hold like the power, go and know your own value?
It's so much trial and error, you know. I think that understanding business where you kind of recalibrate, say you've got like a pie chart.
Yeah.
It's called your business pie chart. A lot of times when you're first starting, you divide it up between like output, cuts and splits, money, that type of stuff. You have to start putting in, like, especially for me, what a big eye opener for me was realizing that I had to put like me as a black woman in the chart.
Yeah.
Because by default, I as a human was getting left out of this piece, this pie. And there's an abundant mentality or there's a glass half empty mentality about it that you switch between. So when I think the glass half empty thing is like, if I start putting myself as a black woman into this pie, money gets pushed out on the other side.
To you or away from you?
Away from me. Because it's like nobody can sell that.
Yeah.
Unless that's like maybe your brand, which I think that's probably sellable, but maybe as a pop artist.
Yeah.
But you just advocating for yourself, like I know that smaller artists and more unknown artists, for example, are going to come to this place where they're trying to do business and they're like, ooh, if I advocate for myself, I might lose this gig.
Yeah.
They might go with someone else or they might drop the track.
Yeah.
And it's those really hard decisions that are the big teaching decisions, and your own sense of value system has to take such a huge shift.
Yeah.
Because you're shifting internally and the outside world is not shifting. So it's really rubs. There's like so much friction. You've got friction with yourself. Like, are you making a wise decision here? Like, just give them the track.
Yeah.
They want to give you 5% or whatever. I'm not talking about myself in this example, but they want to give you pennies on the dollar. You can either take that or nothing.
Yeah.
And it's that leap of faith. Like, all right, nothing.
Yeah. Power of
Let's
no.
see what happens.
Power of saying no.
How much do you want this song? Like, do you know what I mean?
Have you had that?
There have been times where I didn't want the song to come out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a financial decision. It was about
personal.
It was personal, but I would have to set the personal side due to the pressure of the people I work with, and let the song come out.
How does that feel? Can I butt in there? Because sometimes we have to, right? Sometimes we don't have to, but sometimes when you're talking business over pleasure, we have to do business, right? But in the world that we live in the art world, business and personal kind of like entwine in a weird relationship with each other. So yes, we all have to do things sometimes we don't want to a certain extent in what I feel like. But sometimes when we have to do those things, it feels very strange.
At the end of the day, I've used those as teaching moments for myself. So for example, I'll go, how far back did this happen though?
Yeah.
It's not happening now. How far back did it happen?
Yeah.
So like now when I come to collaborate with people, like specifically like successful white male DJ producers, something like that, I'll make sure that I come with my human needs in the first meeting.
Yeah.
And if that creates friction, then that's when you
step back.
Because those other things, the momentum came from way earlier. So I can trace back how I set my personal feelings aside if I like didn't feel comfortable with someone, but they were really successful. And so now I'll be like, well, careful what seeds you're planting, because if you make a track with that person, you're going to have to release that track, and then you're going to have to perform that track.
Yeah.
And it's going to be part of your life forever.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how rather than trying to kind of fix the problem at that last minute, it's like,
just not do it.
Because then that can really go against your own future.
Totally.
And like, I've always kind of separated myself from the songs. So sometimes the song is like, I'm going out there, I don't care what you say. I'm like, okay, God, like,
chill.
What about me? They're like, you were just a vessel. Goodbye. Fine.
Yeah.
So those songs, like, they're out there, and like, I don't perform them, but they really meant something very deep to other people.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
that's cool. Yeah. What are those personal needs?
Those personal needs are understanding that I'm going to advocate for myself on the business side quite firmly.
Yeah.
And that I speak for the better future of Black women in dance music.
Yeah.
And I do that by example. So my business strategies and the way that I work on the back end of songs is to give an example to the women who are coming, and women or non-binary queer people who are coming into the industry and wondering what's the status quo.
Yeah.
Who can I look to know whether this is fair or not? So for example, one decision I made was that I no longer do features. And interestingly, when I was signed, all of like you know, there are benefits to do being a featured artist. You get paid, for example. Yeah. And in my deal, all the money would go to my label.
Really?
Yes.
Motherfuckers.
You're allowed to swear.
Motherfucker, you're allowed to swear. Do whatever you want.
I've been saying like really funny like butter words.
The editing team does actually blank. They've recently started blanking out swear words for the algorithm because it does work. But fuck it, I don't just. Did you know that when you signed the deal?
Oh, there are so many things I didn't know.
Yeah.
When I signed that deal.
Classic, right?
I don't know. I think that 2015 things really started to shift for people who also still don't know.
Yeah.
And the deals were more comprehensive as to what the future of music looked like.
Yeah.
But in 2012, you couldn't rely on the general kind of deal makers to get it right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I've survived that. But, you know, I remember after the pandemic, it was like during the pandemic, we have all these like Zoom calls about the industry. I joined the FAC board, Featured Artists Coalition.
I just did a thing with them actually in London.
Yeah. And like, we're talking about, you know, you're talking about how the industry works at this point.
Yeah.
When you're on one of these boards. It's the first time that it ever happened to me. And, you know, talking about in perpetuity, I was like, oh, that's a cool word. And I remember on this call, I was like, yeah, in perpetuity. What is that? So what's that mean? I'm going to Google that, in perpetuity. Oh, forever. Forever. Yeah. Do I have that? Am I in that deal? And I am in that deal.
Really?
I'm in that deal.
Yeah.
So But I do feel like, you know, this career has never not been challenging me in some way.
Of course. It's the whole point of it, right?
You know, I've certain things I've kicked the can down the road or gone like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. But actually, it's a really good opportunity to stand up for yourself. Yeah. So like, I will be challenging that contract. I mean, I'm challenging it now, and it feels much more empowering than just going, well, you signed the contract. I'm like, doesn't mean that the contract was right. Yeah. And whatever the outcome is, like, it's affecting my life.
Yeah.
That contract is criminal. It's a criminal contract.
Yeah. I'm going through that personally with some other stuff at the moment, and it's completely out of music, right? And when people answer back going, well, you signed the contract, or you agree to it and you signed and agreed to it, and it's like, I agreed to it because you're professionals at what you're doing, and because I'm a human being, and maybe I shouldn't, but because I'm a human being and I trust people way too easily, I'm trusting you that what you're asking me to agree to is in both of our best interests. And yes, I know I'm signing a contract so it covers your ass, but realistically, we're in the same thing together, but we're not.
It's a contract, right? Why were contracts invented? Mm-hmm. To help people make stable business relationships. Yeah. And I always look to the music industry as an ecosystem that I have effect on, being a member of it. And so I don't believe that just allowing bad contracts to exist unchallenged just because they've been signed is good for the ecosystem, because you're not holding people accountable. And lack of accountability is what we're suffering from so often. Yeah. And there is a feeling of like, I'm never going to win, or just lie down and take what you're given. And I'm like, I've already tried that.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I didn't buy a house out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing is, those deals are still happening.
It's quite possible, and that's even more reason to challenge. Yeah. Because, like, if labels think that they can get away with putting certain deal points in, why would they not?
Yeah.
Because, like, we can't... The thing is, I just think that, like, being in the victim position didn't do me any favors.
You can't be.
Because there's no movement then. There's no movement. And it feels... I would rather go down fighting and sharing with the public everything that I'm going through,
the knowledge,
so that they can not go through the same thing, than to quietly accept because I'm ashamed that I was so stupid to sign up in perpetuity contract. I'm sorry, but no one explained to me what that meant, because obviously I didn't have the word in my vocabulary. And whoever that's down to doesn't really matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. And like, it makes me feel strong to know that I can fight something. I don't care about the outcome, because I'm living, but the act of pushing against, like, I think they say, like, in any kind of like oligarchy, like if your government is moving towards an oligarchy, the first thing you want to not do is accept and lie down and take what they're giving you. Yeah. You have to fight back. And it is scary, but once you start, it's just like having a conversation.
Well, you just get more used to push back. You get more used to saying no. You get more used to like confrontation. Yeah. Which, as much as it's horrible, but life is going to give you confrontation in every way, walk of life. So get used to it.
Yeah. And I think there's like an infantilizing effect that being a music artist on a major label can have.
Yeah.
Certainly had an effect on me where everyone else was an expert, not me. I'm all I knew how to do was create
good music.
A bop.
Yeah.
And people would tell you all the time, oh, you don't need to worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. And don't worry about that. I've got that. I'm the expert. You've hired me to do this and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's been one of my hugest challenges, is not deferring to authority, because at the end of the day, most of us are just children with jobs. It's astounding.
Yeah.
I'm just like, as I've grown up, that kind of veil has been lifted more and more and more. And so like I like would do this experiment when I'd be like driving along and I'd be looking at all these businesses and I'm like, that was created by a child with a job. That was created by a child. There was no deeper meaning to that, the name of that restaurant. Someone just went, oh, let's just call it that. It's just not that complicated. And I just was like, I can't believe I've been trusting all these people with my life.
All these professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And devaluing what something like my personal feeling with the person in the room could mean.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like you could be also a reason not to work with someone.
Totally. Yeah.
But I was always like, what do you know? You don't know. You need to do business with people who say they can do it right.
Yeah. When was that realization, or has it been like a gradual? Because I feel like there's always like, for me, there's always like okay, I don't need to do that.
It's like getting close to the music execs.
Yeah.
And kind of peeking behind the curtain. So it was really when I got off my label, it was joint label, it was Island and Interscope.
Yeah.
The way that I did that was so down to earth and human. I was like, I had 2 conversations with 2 execs.
Yeah.
And that was it.
What were those conversations?
One conversation was, okay, it's about time now, because we tried to do this 2 years ago and you ripped up the contract that we were working on to release me from this deal.
Yeah.
And you said at the time, sorry, I had to do it. So now, are you ready to let me go?
Yeah.
And yeah, the other conversation was similarly kind of like how bros might talk to each other. Just like, come on, mate.
Dude, let me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens to be the actual fact was that the timing was very right for them on a personal level. But for me, it was like, let me just try this. And it was like, I remember feeling really psychotic at the time. I was like, I'm just going to call him. I've got his number. I'm just going to call him right now. I'm calling him. Oh my God, it's ringing. Hello. Do you think I could maybe get off your label now, please? Hello? You know?
Yeah.
But
until you try it, right?
Yeah.
Until you do something.
Why did that work?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why didn't I do this before?
Who are these people?
Yeah.
And you start thinking back about all the little comments that they would make about themselves that made them vulnerable. But I would always be like, oh.
It's so weird because I don't like speaking as a we, but I can, for myself, like there's so many conversations I've had previously with teams, with labels, with artists. And it's like, oh, don't do that because you might lose your agent, or don't do that because you might lose your manager, or don't do that because of this. It might upset this person, which can then, that person can get you to that next level. And it's like, there's sometimes, more recently, there's been more realizations in my life that it's like, I don't need that person. Don't need that person above me. There isn't a person above me. It's whether or not we want to work together. And we're very level individuals. We're all on the same playing field. Yes, some people have achieved more business success, but like what they've achieved business success, I've achieved in other ways in my career or in my life. And I think the minute you start looking at everybody as a level playing field and equal and not putting people on pedestals, it kind of just makes it more breathable for me.
Absolutely. And I know what you're saying, but that used to be like a pie in the sky in terms of like a way to think that I had no access to.
Yeah.
So it took...
Explain that.
So like when I started my career, I started it as coming from a position of like, I've basically got nothing to give, really. I'm not marketable.
Yeah.
What I kind of ended up doing was blurring the lines of what I was providing so that I couldn't get pigeonholed.
Yeah.
And that was successful, but that felt like a trick.
Yeah.
I was like, any minute now, they're going to realize I'm black. They're going to send me back to wherever I came from. And so in every interaction, I would come to it with like, grateful for the opportunity, apologetic for also being black, because it, and I this is a genuine thought that I had, like even with George, I'd be like, sorry, I'm going to have to bring my blackness to this equation, and it's going to mean that we're not going to be as successful. Yeah. So that is a sacrifice. I thought of him as working with me as a sacrifice to what he could be doing with a white counterpart.
Can I jump in there?
Yeah.
Like, what made you feel like that?
I think that...
Because as a white dude, sorry, also, I don't want to butt in, but as a white dude, and like, I don't see any of those as negatives. I never have. Like, but that's just me personally. I know society acts in different ways, right?
I would say that then your answer is more, it's not you as a white dude.
Yeah.
It's you as an individual who's connected to his humanity.
Yeah.
Because as a white dude, you're not going to have that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. No, of course
you
I'm
happen
not.
to you happen to be white.
Yeah,
but that's not where your perspective comes from.
So what happened? Like, what was the... I really want to like get into your brain of it, because I struggle with it. Like, I struggle to understand it because I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, so I kind of, that's where, like, where does that start for you?
So, okay, I'll break things up. You've got external racism, which is divided into two: personal and structural. Yeah. So personal is like if you've had personal experiences with racism. Maybe it's like your family history, how it's affected you personally. And then you've got structural racism, which is, you know, all of our structures that keep black people, you know, societal. And then as you also are split in two. So you've got like external racism and then you have internalized racism. And I think that's where we lose. We lose the explanation thing for other people who are trying to relate to it. Is that internalized? Because it's very confusing to understand where somebody is getting these messages from if it wasn't directly from a specific person who sat you down and said you're worthless. I grew up the only black girl in a completely white town. And so the messaging was that I am an alien, and the double messaging was that the way that people treated me was that I was of zero value. It's not that they were outrightly racist to me at all, but there's something called colorblindness. Colorblind racism, it manifests where like you're there, but because you can't be included in society, you're just kind of like on the edges. And so you could show potential in whatever, but you're never going to be valued for that. And that definitely changes for the individual. Like if you're a black man, for example, a young man with an athletic body, the stereotype of that being a value will bring a totally different value to you as a black person, even if you're the only black person there. But I am very alternative, and I'm also mixed. Yeah. So it was very, very hard for people to categorize me. And so I grew up kind of basically absorbing this kind of state position in society. In my friend groups, I would be like the person that no one spoke to, or like wasn't invited to the party, or like the guys would never ever date me. It was like I was like a ghost.
Yeah.
And so I came to the music industry with that.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly how that, like, I think I was saying that in my interactions with people, what I was bringing to the table then dictated the outcome of our relationship further down the line. And that didn't really happen to me in where I grew up, because there were no opportunities to really worry about. Like, yeah, I might, you know, some guy might show some interest in me, turned out to be a total weirdo. Yeah. But it's like, just run away.
Yeah. What am I doing?
Well, you know, it wasn't like I signed a contract or made a whole song with someone, or you know. So the stakes got higher, and I hadn't processed all of that internalized stuff. Yeah. And so what I realized, especially around George Floyd, it sounds a little late, but I will say that living in England will set you back a few centuries for how quickly you're going to process internalized racism and in your view of racism, because the way that England treats the whole subject is that it doesn't exist. Yeah. So when you're starting from there, it's very, very hard. You're like, can I raise an issue? Like what? Like racism? Oh no, we've actually fixed that now.
We got rid of that one a few years ago.
You're like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, well, I want to fix everything, right? I was like that. I was like, but I was like, I've got to fix the internal. Yeah. That's the part that I can work on.
Something you can control.
Yeah.
In the grand
scheme, it didn't stop me from making moves in the music industry to fix some of the structural stuff. Yeah. But I knew none of it was going to stick if I wasn't doing my own stuff. And, I kind of thought some of those things were personality traits, and like combing through all of those interactions I had was tough, because I was like, is it because I'm black, or is it because I'm weird, or is it because I'm insecure? Am I insecure because I'm black? Am I insecure because I learned to talk in America, then came to England when I was 6 and had an American accent, and like forever after that was like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
It is complex, but it's always helped me. I feel a little bit like, because you assimilate, right? Mm-hmm. As a black person in a very, very white focused society, you will assimilate, and you will take on the mindsets, the mentalities, the ways of thinking.
You're a product of your environment. We all are.
And
right?
So when I came to what we might want to call like critical race theory, I was like almost coming as a white person.
Yeah.
In that I could very much understand what it's like to ignore all of the issues and want to be like, but I'm a good person. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I know.
No one's saying you're not.
We're all so good. Yeah. And we have really great intentions, but we've messed it up. We've covered over a lot of the pain. Yeah. And I mean, there were definitely some relationships from my childhood that may never recover, because it was like that first hurdle of like, this is a problem that exists, couldn't get acknowledged.
Yeah. I get that.
Like, why is it a problem for you? And I think it's interesting looking at successful Black artists and not understanding why it's a problem for them. Surely they've bypassed it all. Because look, they're more successful than I am. I just have a day job.
Yeah.
Like, you might get paid the same amount as me. You want to think about that.
Yeah.
You may even get paid more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So success and notoriety they're
not the same.
They're not the same.
Not the same. And also the way we present ourselves on social media, people don't realize that most of it's smoke and mirrors because it's a marketing tool, right? No one really shows their shit times on social media.
Well, I have some different opinions about it, but we can
we
can talk about that later. But all I can say is that as I started to go on this healing journey, it just became very quickly for me less about a war than about moving towards connection, because one of the main results was disconnection. And I felt that very deeply of like, if I'm relating to, say, for example, a white person, I would really focus on like, how does it feel that there is one thing that disconnects us? As much as you would like to connect, there's this one thing. Like, that is painful.
Yeah.
And it's painful for everyone. And I see that as the one unifying factor in the discussion on racism. As a white person, you are like sucked into this ancient fakery based around the catastrophe that we're in now, building that catastrophe, capitalism.
Yeah.
That you're now somehow like connected to without wanting to be, but you benefit from it. You just, by existing, you're just like creating all this, that has to be accounted for in terms of like when you're trying to understand the effects of racism. It's not just on the Black community, it's on society as a whole.
100%.
And so what is that? It's just that disconnection. And humans, we're so designed to be connected, and so we feel physical pain as we disconnect from each other. And yes, like, white people can like enjoy living in their own community together without us. I get that.
Yeah.
But there is always that like pull towards coming together. Like, maybe it's in terms of music, sport.
Well, I think
culture.
We're all tribal people, is just generally, right? I think is embedded in our genetics that we're tribal people. Like, we weren't ever supposed to be in cities this big, right? Like, generally, like, and I think tribal people, it's changed. And I think with that, obviously, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but there's always going to be that. There's always going to be that tribalism in life, in any way, whether that's like in sport, music, what you look like, what you're interested in. I think there's always going to be tribal. But what is the best thing is when two tribes come together and create something that works together. And I think it's just about having more conversations about it as well.
Yeah, and I think that those conversations are going to happen in really different ways. And I think it's about valuing all those conversations equally, because like a conversation between people who are policymakers is going to look very different from like a conversation over a dinner table with an extended family member who's a Trump supporter or something.
Yeah.
But they're both really valuable. And like, you know, I struggle with like not wanting to take the conversation too esoteric, too spiritual, too beyond where the reality is. But actually, all those conversations are important and valuable, even if they don't apply. You know, like how could we really come together in the future? One of the things is like, racism itself is a game of smoke and mirrors. It was a lie created and solidified by belief systems that can be torn down. But they are integrated with capitalism. They are integrate. It is integrated with a lot of our systems. And so that's, I think, why it's very confusing when a black person and a white person from similar kind of economic standing are like, so what's keeping us separate? But I think that like the conversation around class, money, that's a bigger conversation, because I think that othering of like the haves and the have-nots is a variation of the same evil, but a stronger one. I think that racism is just one component of the class war.
I think you see that way more in the US. I think it's way more apparent in the US, the divide with finances. Since from growing up where I grew up in the UK, in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, like everyone's pretty middle class. Don't get me wrong, you go to some places in the US and like the societal classes, the lower class, the middle class and the upper class, like in my opinion, it's changing slowly, but it's very much middle class. And when I moved to America 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I saw it drastically change. It is the haves and the have-nots, and the middle class is slowly getting taken out. But I also feel like that's exactly the same as the music industry now. I feel like the middle class of the music industry is just being completely ripped out. Do you agree?
That's actually a really interesting perspective, because I think of England as having quite a large proportion of working class people.
But I would say majority of England is working class.
But then we also have like the royal family. And old money. Like.
But we have old money in everywhere, right? I do think there's...
Not here.
I disagree. I think there's massive... Not like kings and queens, but my parents' house is older than America, right? So America hasn't been around for that long. But if we're talking old money, there's... Okay, go to the Hamptons. There's the I forgot the family's name, but the guy that invented dynamite, his family's there. Generational wealth, right? That you and I would like. They're like 27 generations and still billionaires. Like I feel like there's more money here than there is in the UK.
Proportionally, yes. But I think it's really interesting when you come to America and try and explain the royal family to an American. They're like, but why? I'm like, because without it, England wouldn't understand what it was. It would have no identity. Like, I think of England as like not exactly a real place, but kind of like a control center, historically speaking.
Yeah,
and
100%.
From
we fucked the
England,
world up.
we sent agents of chaos to the rest of the world. And all that history is like, I mean, it's just hidden in the British Library, in the tombs in the British Library. Do you remember that time during George Floyd when they like found some book was just sitting in the British Library, and it had all the names of like people who owned slaves.
Yeah.
It was just called the Merchant Log.
Yeah.
And like certain people were like, oh, now everyone knows that my family benefited directly from slavery. But it's like,
but
England, because it's an island,
yeah,
the entire foundation of the country is built in the same way as America, in the sense that everything, all the wealth, maybe not all the history, but the wealth from slavery set the tone.
Yeah.
And because England's older, I feel like they have better ways of hiding their history.
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you this. In school, did you ever have like a comprehensive lesson on slavery?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. We learned so much about
I
it.
learned nothing.
Really?
Yeah, and I was in like very British school.
Yeah. No, we learned a lot about it.
What did you learn?
It was like who, where, why, how it happened. It was a massive part of our history lesson.
That's so interesting. I only learned about Henry VIII.
Yeah, no, we did that, of course. Everyone has to in the UK.
Yeah.
But like a massive part of it was like, I remember literally like having to draw, like one of our things was like draw the boats and like learning about the like environment. I think we even did like a drama thing on it.
Cool school.
It was cool. But again, like, and I think this is the thing, is I can only go from my experience, right? And you can go from your experience. And England's an interesting place. I like England a lot. Like for me, England's allowed me to do certain things that I don't think I would have been able to do if I lived somewhere else. So it's given me a life, or I was very fortunate with how I was brought up. My family supported me so much. Like I was very fortunate, right? And America's given me a career that I wouldn't have ever been able to have in England. Like the tall poppy syndrome in the UK is a real thing, in my opinion. And
what is that?
Tall poppy syndrome? You're only allowed to get to a certain size.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah. Like I think it's been talked about quite a lot, that it's like there's only a certain level. I think I don't know if you ever noticed it, because you were massive in the UK. Like as Aluna George, like you were one of the biggest, right? In that world, from an outsider's point of view. Like when I was coming up through the industry and saw what you guys were doing, I was like, you're one of the biggest in where you're at. But I think there's always a ceiling in the UK, that you can be the hot new thing and you can be super successful, but get back down off that pedestal because you're not going to be there forever.
I think that is so much about the size of the country. Honestly, being the size of one state in America means a lot. It means that England, for example, had to outsource every dealings that it had with slavery, for example. There's no land to keep their slaves on. So you've got this really different experience of like what history of slavery is for British people, being only ownership and money transfer, no human interaction. America, you have slaves on the land who were then freed, and they had to live with their previous owners in one place. And so I find it very hypocritical when like British people will look at America like, oh, they're so racist. I'm like, how would it have been if half of the population of England was black slaves in the fields, and then one day they were now free?
Just wouldn't have been in space.
Like they would be obviously fighting.
Yeah.
Obviously fighting. So our ability to have technically moved past that history is only because of proximity to the effect that we had on the black population of that entire era.
Yeah.
We just outsourced it. So I don't think of England as separate from America. I see it as the control center. And very, very much like everything that happens in America is sourced from England.
Do you think? I don't know if I agree.
In my historical mind.
Yeah.
Not being a historian.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree.
I know that there were different, like there's some Dutch people that came here, some
Spanish,
French.
Yeah.
So Europe as a whole, I know England's very different to Europe.
Yeah.
For sure, size-wise.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't think England is as separate from America as it thinks it is, especially when we talk about politics.
I didn't get involved with politics.
Well, when the whole Iraq war thing was the first time that I understood that we didn't have autonomy. We didn't make separate decisions from America just because we felt like it.
No.
Financially, we are indebted to America. You know, the founding fathers, you know.
Yeah.
Why is there an Independence Day if England wasn't in control of America at one point?
Agreed. Yeah.
You can't ignore those facts.
No.
And so the us and them thing, it doesn't work for me. It does not work for me.
It's interesting.
Us and us, small island version of same thing, all same thing, but this is the younger version, and this is the version.
So where does the American mentality of the capitalistic society come from? Because that's not in England.
So the Americans didn't want to adhere to the cultural legacy of old money. They didn't think it was fair.
Yeah.
So you've got, you know, those kind of like American versions of Downton Abbey where they're addressing old money and new money.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could be a British person who had some kind of ties to the royal family, and you're a duke and and had a certain amount of money. And then if somebody who made that amount of money came along, that person couldn't get a foot in the door of society, higher society.
Yeah.
And so in America, they were like, right, we don't do old money. That has no importance anymore.
Yeah.
We don't even have a queen. And we're independent now. And so like,
you're on your own.
That was like, like money unleashed from historical family significance related to royalty and power and things like that.
Yeah.
It's not that different.
Yeah.
Because it's just an exchange of like who has the power over others.
Yeah. There's always somebody that has power over somebody though, right? In any way, to a certain extent.
In hierarchical systems, for sure. I don't necessarily think that humans are inherently hierarchical. I don't think we have
think that way.
Taught ourselves that it's the only structure.
Yeah.
But if you take the hierarchical system, which is usually a triangle on a piece of paper, right? And a 2D piece of paper where you know where up and where down is. Top is at the top, bottom is at the bottom. If you just lift that up and make it a pyramid, all of a sudden you have a third side.
Yeah.
Whoa. This is a 3D pyramid now. Where's like, what do we do with this third side? That confuses the hierarchical system immediately. Then if you take that pyramid and put it into rotating space, since Earth is a ball rotating in space, it's not that far-fetched. Where's up and where's down?
Yeah.
Doesn't work after that. You've just got people who have different jobs and different significances in the field that they were designed for, working in the same pyramid.
Yeah.
or what's the other word for that? No, pyramid, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that it's a perspective thing.
Yeah.
And like, certainly I think it's one of the things that a music artist in this day and age is literally living. It's like the pyramid came off the paper and just now rotating in space. Who is it? The label at the top of the pyramid? Am I at the top of the pyramid? Am I at the bottom of the pyramid? Oh, the pyramid just rotated.
But I think that's the amazing thing of where we're at in 2026, right? Is that and I've seen this change in the last maybe 3 years, the artist is slowly coming to the top of that. And there's way more ability for the artist to be at the top of that, in a sense of, with all of the things that we have at our fingertips, right? Social media, technology, generally, we control the rhetoric of what we want to put out to the world. We can control the communication between fan and artist. The labels need the artist more than we need them. Management need the artist more than we need them. Agents need the artist more than we need them. And I think it's the one time now that I've seen in my career the like spectrum shift in favor of the artist, where we can have the ability to control at the top. And it's not about control, it's to have equal conversation.
I love the idea of that. It sounds really lovely.
Yeah.
And I actually don't want to rain on that parade. I just want to like let that sit. And any listener who needs to hear that, to just hear that without me like shitting all over that. No, but in my reality, you know, when you're looking at the ecosystem of real estate, musical real estate, for example, the major labels did deals with the streaming platforms. Let's not be specific, just like where they literally own enormous amounts of the real estate on those platforms. So when you're an independent artist, you're really only dealing with the crumbs around the periphery of that ownership of real estate. So that's one thing in terms of like who holds the power. When it comes to talking to your fans directly, any platform that is available to you where you have an open kind of format of the everyone is owned by that platform. So anytime you want to reach those people, you have to pay money to reach those people. So again, is that a level playing field? Because then you need to pay. And I can go back to that marketing conversation now, where independent artists will have to tell the story of what it is they're doing and present that to the world. And it's as I've been learning more about it, it's a really high level skill.
Yeah.
And when you're making music, that pretty much takes everything you have. And so I do think it's a little bit risky to put yourself as the artist in a position of power in theory, on paper, because it's going to butt up against reality in a way that like hurts. Like you put a glass wall in your bedroom and then try to go to the toilet at night. It's like, fuck.
Forget it's there every time.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And it can be really disheartening. So I only say this to make sure that, like, in my position now, the way I see it as an independent artist is that I am now the record label.
Yep.
And that is a financial burden.
Of course, yeah.
And it's also a skill set burden. And it's a team burden.
Yep.
Like, the way that you have, like, and especially with the amount of music that's now coming out into the world, like, to be seen, to be heard, your marketing is something that is like, I mean, it's almost more important than you and your music, honestly.
100%.
And so if you don't have that on lock, and it's kind of like, for you to be able to do all those things, you'd probably be an absolute mad genius, which hats off to you if you can handle that much going on. It's a really interesting time, and I think that being an independent artist, if you want to position yourself in that important role, like you said, you have to protect yourself with the knowledge that, like, you have to become so much more than a music creator.
Totally.
And that can be really daunting for people. And working with up and coming independent artists, I see the challenge.
I don't think it's just up and coming. I think it's everybody. I think there's the challenge for everybody. I guess it's also
like, I got to a point where I was like, is music just the soundtrack for other people making money?
Yeah.
Is that our value now?
Yeah.
Because that's a very pessimistic view, and
Yeah.
I don't believe that, but I did get that moment, which made me turn and make changes. Like, well, I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
I think for me, my North Star through all of that crap that I just explained is to find what the, like,
It's not crap.
purpose is. Well, as in like the crap of, like, the label owns all of this real estate, etc. That is kind of annoying. You know, it's annoying information. The North Star is like, okay, what is the purpose of this job? The purpose of this job in my current mindset is that humanity moves forward and develops and evolves through storytelling.
Yeah.
But not all storytelling is made alike. We're going to now move into an age of AI storytelling. And what comforts me is that humans know the difference between, our souls know the difference between what is something created with our humanness as its goal and the evolution of our humanness as its goal, and what is created as a distraction. We've dealt with this in music for forever. Like, a lot of music is made for distraction.
Yeah.
There's just different types of music, but, like, storytelling in its essence is designed to help people move forward on a personal level and collectively in society, to go from being these individuals that are self-centered in the wrong way, and then get them to be self-centered in the right way and become whole people and evolve and work together. And if you can do that with your songwriting or with the vibrations of your music, then nothing can replace that. I say that because at this time, like, I think a lot of people, there's just so much fear around AI. And I think that is the number one thing we have to focus on at this time, is don't give in to the fear. Focus on what it means to be a storyteller, and upgrade your understanding of that. And the storytelling is part of the branding. It's part of the marketing. Yeah. Not all storytelling is just to sell a product. Storytelling is to tell the world what type of archetype you represent for their own personal healing. If you need someone who's come from nothing and made it to a place of success and abundance, people need that. Or if they've overcome some kind of huge challenge and won, they need to see that in their personal lives. And that's, as songwriters, as music makers, and people who are able to bring people together in like live settings, that's our job. And so that's what my North Star is with all of it. Like, otherwise we just give up.
Love that. I've loved this conversation. It's gone in ways that I wasn't expecting, which I really like.
We've gone way off book.
Which I really like. I feel like we could do another hour and a half.
I know.
We should do it again.
We should. I'd love that.
Thank you so much.
I like talking to you a lot.
That was amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. I've grown up with you. It may sound weird saying this, but I've grown up with you in my early career from, I think I actually saw you at Glastonbury when I was like, I think in 2005. No. 15.
Just out of 10.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing you there with my dad. And I've grown up with your music, and thank you. It's been amazing to see your journey and to see where you're at today. Although we've never met, I've been following from afar, and I know we have a lot of mutual friends. So keep doing what you're doing, and come back on.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Thanks so much, mate.
Thank you.